time. Okay, so very good. All right, so call the meeting to order at 6:06. Present for this meeting are 4 members of the committee, and that's Janet Brown representing CPC, Chris Fowles representing Select Board, Charlie McDonald representing Conservation Commission, and myself representing Planning Board, and then 2 guests that I know of, Daniel LaValle and Marla Hank.
I'm also considered the alternate member from the Parks Commission, so if you want to put me down as that. Because
okay,
she said when she couldn't make it, I could represent that.
All right, then for now, you are the Parks Commission representative, unless Paula joins us.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's good to know. Okay, wonderful. And so we have 1 guest so far, and that's Marla Hank. I wonder if at this point, we only have 1 member of the public, and that's Marla. Marla, did you want to make any comments at this point?
No.
Okay. So you'll chip in as time goes on? Okay. Did everybody have a chance to look at the minutes of the last meeting? And do you have any comments or changes or suggestions?
I have not seen the minutes of the last meeting.
They were emailed. I can do share screen if you want. They were emailed to you weeks ago, right after the meeting, by Diana.
Okay, let me see. I'll look through my notes here. I usually print them out, but let me see. This is unfortunate.
How do I do this now? I'm
open space.
Files.
917. Was it 917?
Yes, that's right.
That's it.
Yep.
Okay, I have them. I think I read them over some weeks ago, and I didn't. No, they look fine to me as I remember reading these.
Okay.
But it's been so long. That's all.
Okay. So you know, Chris, I brought this all up onto my desktop before the meeting, the things I want to share.
Mm-hmm.
And now I can't seem to get to my desktop. I'm at share. Do I go to files? Do I go to advanced?
Okay, you've hit the green share button at the bottom.
I did, yeah.
Okay, then you should be able to go to your files and see that on your desktop somewhere there. And then
All I've got is my iPhone and my whiteboard.
It's not around your whiteboard area.
Okay, well then if I go to files, I've got Box, Google Drive, Microsoft OneDrive, Microsoft SharePoint, and Dropbox, and none of those are what I want.
No. Can you just go in a minute and find it, and then it'll maybe ask you to share again. You may have to push share a second time.
Go in where? You mean go
into your documents or wherever?
What a nuisance.
You may not need to. If Charlie's found his, you may not need to share screen.
Well, I know, but I have like 5 things I want to share tonight.
Oh.
So that's why I put it all on my desktop, just so I
can do that, and then usually minimize it, and then it'll show up at the bottom of your screen normally.
All right, so can I minimize this Zoom screen? Let me see here.
I don't know about that.
Okay. All right, I'm going to minimize Zoom, and then, so now I'm looking at my desktop. What do I do at this point? I mean, it's all on there that I want.
You could open them and then just minimize each of them, and they'll drop down to the bottom of your screen, I think.
Okay, great. I got it. Okay. So I got this one. So minimize, great. And then this one, minimize, great. And then this one, bear with me, everybody. I'm sorry. This one, minimize, great. This one, minimize, great. This one, minimize. Okay, go back to open this. Go back to Zoom. There we are.
So you might have to hit the green share button again at the bottom.
I haven't been able to get the full screen of Zoom yet.
Oh.
Exit minimized. Okay, go to full. I got it. All right. So now it's okay. We're all set with the minutes. Does anybody else want to comment on the minutes? If not, do I hear a motion to accept as written?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
I second Janet.
All in favor? Say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, and then you said you're abstaining, Chris?
I'll abstain since I wasn't a member. Yep.
So this is unanimous with one abstention, and that is Chris Baltz. And then, let's see here. So committee reports. I've got them in order for Janet, so I gave her sort of an outline of, so she could do the minutes from the outline if she wanted to. First report is Parks Commission. Do you have a report, Dan?
Parks Commission, well,
This is related to open space issues.
oh, related to open space issues? No, there are no topics related to open space issues.
Okay, Conservation Commission, Charlie, related to open space issues?
Well, I think the Trails grant has been approved by the federal government and or the state government, or federal government, I think it would be. So that's in place. And I think Diana is dealing with Mala and getting some the finances straightened away for that. Mala, maybe you can add something to that.
We're waiting for Ed Gibson to fill out the paperwork so we can have it sent back in. And then once we send it back in signed, then the state signs it and sends it back to us. Then we can put it out to bid, and then we can get the volunteers started. Because if anybody volunteers and does something before it comes back signed from the state, it doesn't count.
It doesn't.
But where it is right now it's sitting with Ed.
Okay. I did understand that, Marla, from Diana. Is there a deadline on that of any kind?
The project has to be all done in 2 years.
2 years.
Okay. So Marla, just so I'm clear, this is a signature that says that the town or whatever, Concom accepts the grant, is that it?
No, there's a whole bunch of legal mumbo jumbo. What kind of entity are you? Because these RTP grants go to other than conservation commissions.
Okay.
So there's some paperwork that Vicki Morrow, before she leaves, will be filling out with Jen. Ed has to fill out a bunch of paper. We have to have Lucy notarizers.
Okay.
Our signatures.
All right.
Excuse me.
Yeah. All right. Well, hopefully next week, once we get through town meeting this weekend, he'll have a little bit of time.
I hope so.
Well, we're trying to get the CARES Act grant in too, so lots of things going on at the same time.
Yep.
Okay, good. Is that all from Conservation Commission tonight? Okay.
I think so.
CPC, any report, Janet, from CPC related to lands?
No, I don't think so. We did have a meeting last night and things went very well. But I don't think I really have anything definite to report about that.
Okay. Planning Board, that's me. We, related to lands, I just know that we are doing, in the process of doing a site visit on a piece of property that has exceeded the original proposal for what they were going to do for disturbance of the property. And so they triggered the need for a stormwater plan. And because of weather this week, things didn't finalize on that. But other than that, at this point, nothing else from Planning Board. We're just doing our job specific to plans being put forward. Assessors, April's not here tonight, but she just wanted us to know the assessors are meeting on Monday. If we had any reason to bring anything to the assessors for their meeting. Select Board, is there anything from Select Board to report tonight, Chris, related to open space?
Not that I know of, although I'm about 90% sure that the open space update, whatever, open space recreation update plan. I don't know that you've heard anything back from Ed on that, have you?
No, I actually, I just contacted our Pioneer Valley Planning Commission person before this meeting to find out what he was aware of. He has not heard. I have emailed Ed myself just within the last hour because of need to report to this committee as well as planning board, because I represent the planning board on that committee. So we're really waiting for just one element on that, and then it has to go to DCR, has to be signed off by planning board and select board. And then the draft can be put out for public viewing and comments, and we really want to see that get done. So any ability to, I know Ed's keeping 1,000 balls in the air and it's tough, but it's timely. Okay, so the next thing on the agenda is the announcement regarding the upcoming special town meeting, October 17th. And I put this on here because it's a couple important things related to open space, and they're all important. But one thing is, we know that the CPC is prepared to support the building of some important recreation item, and that's the pickleball courts, which will be built near Conant Park. And so we're looking for support on that particular article on the warrant. And the other one is the wetlands protection bylaw. And I know, Dan, you've been able to speak to this quite a bit. Can you just give a brief, and the reason I'm asking Dan to do a very brief presentation on this tonight is because I am really interested in knowing how open space feels about this and whether we want to be able to speak one way or the other at special town meeting representing open space committee. So go ahead, Dan, give us a quick review.
Right. Yeah, so the point of the bylaw is really just to provide consistency for implementation of the Wetlands Protection Act over time, and as members of the commission change, so that we have it written down as to how the Wetlands Protection Act will be used in Southampton. So we're not reinventing the Wetlands Protection Act. We're just defining how Southampton applies it. So specifically, there's a couple areas that we're defining, clarifying. One being the Wetlands Protection Act always gives you a 100-foot buffer zone around wetlands, and there is some variation in terms of a town's conservation commission's decision as to what can happen within those zones. So to make it more firm over time, we're saying similar to many other towns in Massachusetts that the 25 feet closest to the wetland, we're calling that the conservation zone. So that area, no building would be allowed. You're still allowed to maintain the area if it is currently mowed, but no structures can be added at this point. So that's one area. The other one area is vernal pools. I should mention that vernal pools are already protected if they are connected to a wetland. So this really speaks to isolated vernal pools, which is a vernal pool which is not directly connected to a wetland. So we want to provide that same conservation zone, buffer zone philosophy across wetlands that we would for vernal pools as we would all wetlands. So treating those equally. Yeah, I think the other part, which is also part of the Wetlands Protection Act that we want to add clarification around and a better description is how do we deal with violations of and enforcement orders. You know, obviously first we look to remedy those through conversations and establishing plans with the parcel owners. What we are saying is that we would eventually, if it comes to it, that we would use the tool that is available to us to fine the individual if it got to that point where they were not showing any significant forward progress, and it is the last resort. So those are really the the points in the Wetlands Protection Act that we are trying to clarify and really solidify in this bylaw that define it for Southampton, so that, like I said, over time it gets applied evenly, so everybody's treated fairly with that.
So I wonder, does anybody here have specific questions for Dan? Or do you understand this? I have to admit, I've been sort of close to his evolution of his presentation. He and another member of the Conservation Commission are going to be speaking at the town meeting on this. I kind of understand it pretty well, but I want to make sure others do, because I'm wondering how open space in general feels about this.
I have one question on the vernal pool. Are those authorized or
Certified vernal pools?
Certified is the
that
word. Yeah.
so? They would get protection if they are certified vernal pools based on the species that reside within the pool.
Yeah.
So it's all part of the RDA on property would be looking for any of those isolated vernal pools.
So the local conservation commission would be certifying the vernal pool based on detecting that species?
It's well, I guess it's part of the hired wetlands protection agent, or sorry, the wetlands agent that is involved with the project would be looking for also identifying vernal pools.
Right, but we're not going to certify them. That's up to the landowner's choice. We're talking about having a buffer zone and protecting them. A certified one puts it on the state's map. We're not doing that on private property.
Yeah. All right. This will be the third time this wetland protection expansion with this local law has come up. Isn't that true?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I wasn't sure if it was the same wording all three times. I couldn't tell you.
This is identical to the one the second time. There is a little bit less on it than the first time.
It is still a very extensive document, though, if I looked it over. It's very extensive. And
Right.
do you think you're going to have the support at the town meeting? Because frequently people have seen it as greater restrictions relative to the Wetlands Protection Act. And consequently, there's some pushback.
Right. And I think that's the part to explain. If you would just allow me to interrupt for one second, is two things. One, we did put together a brochure which I think simplifies in comparison to the long wording that is in the full bylaw, to help the audience members understand what is being proposed. And it's really reinforcing that we're not going above and beyond the Wetlands Protection Act. We're not reinventing the Wetlands Protection Act. We're just defining it for Southampton.
Yeah. And where is this brochure?
It's a flyer. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Charlie.
Where would it be? Is it on the website, in your Conservation Commission website?
Well, the town warrant for the upcoming special towns meeting.
It's on the town website, Charlie. Yeah.
Okay.
And also, Dan, this is not retroactive, right? It's going forward. So anything that is already in existence is nothing that is going to be
right. What is done. We'll say it that way.
You know, what might be helpful, just following up on Charlie's thing, and Marla, you may know offhand, but just in terms of how many potential violations, or how many, I don't know. I mean, I guess I can see somebody asking, well, how many?
That's an interesting question, because I had this conversation with Marla the other day.
Okay. How many times have you had to think about enforcing, or how many times do people come and ask if they have a wetland or something? I don't know. It might be just a number to have in the back pocket, just in case.
So Marla, let me try to answer. You can tell me if I paraphrase you correctly. In terms of over the past, I think you said over the past 5 years,
10 years.
10 years.
We'll go to
or
10.
10 years, there have only been 2 instances that you would say where we would have gotten to the point where we would have fined somebody. Did I say it right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
10
on average,
years.
there's 1 a year. Yeah, on average, there's 1 a year, and only 2 would have probably made us start that procedure. And the whole idea is if people think you can fine them, then they'll get moving on it. So they don't. It's acknowledge it and make some progress instead of drag your feet. But at most, there's 2 that we would have even started that. And this is over 10 years.
Well, that's good to know. I think, Dan, your comment about this is something the fine would be of last resort. I think that important part is that Concom then works with the landowners to try to resolve the situation and, to avoid getting to that ultimate point, right?
Really? I mean, yeah. I mean, we're all, in the same town. We all just want.
We're members of the community.
Right.
Yep.
So we want to protect the wetlands and we want to restore the wetlands. So fining them doesn't actually restore the wetlands. Them taking the action and moving forward is the thing that we want to arrive at.
Is the fine structure
And
been
to be
identified?
clear,
Has the fine structure been identified? How much monies are going to be assessed for these fines? Is that defined somehow?
So I had done a study on Hampshire and Hampden County in terms of what fines other towns apply, and it's a 80% or $300 a day. So we haven't voted on it yet, right, Marla? I can say that. It goes to select board to.
no,
to
we
get the-
have not. It would go to the select board.
Yes, that's the right word. Right.
But just be clear though, guys, this amendment, the way the motion is written, it's being presented, this bylaw is being presented as an amendment to Article 29, which is the Conservation Commission fee schedule. Okay, so whatever's on the fee schedule is, if there's something there for a fine, this is going on to amend that, right? So this bylaw is amending the fee schedule. So just be sure whatever's on that fee schedule. I haven't looked at it myself lately, but anyway, that's what's happening with how this.
No, the fee schedule doesn't. The fee schedule does not have anything for enforcement orders on it.
No.
The Conservation Commission bylaw doesn't add on to the fee schedule. It's its own separate bylaw, but the fee schedule itself can be changed by the select board.
Yeah, but just if you look at the motion that's on the town website, the motion, I believe, is to amend Article 29, Marla, which is the fee schedule, to add this to it.
Why on earth would a wetlands protection bylaw be
I don't know.
modifying a fee schedule?
It's the only thing it was hung on, as far as I know. I don't know. I just saw that when I looked at it on the website tonight.
All righty.
I have one more comment.
Wait 1 second, Charlie, wait. So this, because you asked Charlie if it's going to pass, we don't know, but it's all about getting out the vote. And if questions come up, whether it's the fee schedule or it's in an amendment, whatever, a clear answer is going to have to be ready. You can't say 80% of $300 based on 2 counties, blah, blah, blah. You can't say that. It's got to be a little more specific than that.
Right. Well, I think that's specific.
Just you, Marla, and whatever have to be sure you got the same answer.
I mean, would it be up to $300? Is that, or something like that? Is that your answer? Or?
I would say that I was told that the fee schedule is something that is figured out separately and is voted upon by the select board, and is not something that has to be voted on by the town at the town meeting. That was the direction I had.
Well, it's not going to be at the town meeting, but is it already posted, and when it's assessed against somebody, is it select board action or is it Conservation Commission action? Or that's kind of got to be understood, I think.
Yeah, it may be, I don't, well, yeah. Go ahead, Marla, you know better than I
The
do.
last time we had when we had the proposal the last time, at that point, the select board had gone with, it was going to be $300 a day for each day that the commission determined that they were being ignored. So each day is considered a new violation until we hear an action. So that was $300 a day. However, since we didn't have a bylaw, therefore, you don't have the $300 a day. So that's what we would request of the select board. We changed the fee schedule to be a separate piece of business so that every time you wanted to change the fee schedule, you don't have to take it to a town meeting. For example, an RDA is $75. An NOI of the simpler time is $100. A certificate of compliance is $50. Those are numbers that the select board can vote to change, and we do that. So that's why we had the $300 per incident, and each incident is, and by the state counts it that way too, each day that we're hearing nothing. However, we do not have a number yet because we don't have a bylaw. The select board would choose that, work with us to choose that number. So it wouldn't be arbitrary.
Okay, good. Okay, Charlie, you had another question?
Well, it's just that from my experience on the Conservation Commission, they're doing an excellent job, but by definition, they're a punitive organization. They control what people can do on their property based on the Wetlands Protection Act. But there are certain interests in the town that are resenting it. And I think as far as the Open Space Committee is concerned, they might conjure up some sort of resentment to what we're trying to do on the open space ideas. And I just wanted to put that in as a caution, that's all.
So are you suggesting we probably aren't prepared, shouldn't vote on whether we support this bylaw? Is that what you're?
Well, the thing to be concerned about is how, the kinds of people we're going to be maybe interacting with and how they respond to open space issues versus the regulatory issues that exist in the town. That's all. And I think, and from my experience, it can be a little bit antagonistic. And I mean, when I think this bylaw went up, way back 10 years, Marla, I think can vouch for it being a long time ago. And that that special zone, and Ed Colley, and we got a butt handed to us trying to get this through previously. And I just know there's a lot of resentment towards increased regulation associated with wetlands protection. That's my experience, that's all.
So I kind of want to share with something actually I learned in my class today, because I'm taking a land protection class, and they talked a little bit about the carrot and the stick. And the idea of the carrot and the stick are the two ways you protect land, right? The carrot being acquiring land, protecting land, putting it in conservation restriction. The stick being things such as the enforcement orders, the Wetland Protection Act, and those things. So they really go hand in hand. So yeah. I don't know how as an organization you could say that you would not support this. This is really all involved in land protection and open spaces. Your goal and your mission is that. It just happens to be on the what would call the punitive side of land protection, not the.
That's right. Yeah.
Yep.
Any more comments?
There might be some cross-feeding there with, the people who have considerable resources in the town that might be considering giving open space to this committee or to the town. And if they're somewhat antagonized by wetlands protection restrictions that are enhanced via this bylaw, then that might be just an issue this committee might be sensitive to. That's all. That's my experience.
You can also use those conservation restrictions and those wetland protections when you're talking to those people as a benefit, right? Because you can say when they go for their tax credits and they try to get their capital gains reduced for the sales of their property, those things that are taken into account by the assessor. So it's all about how you approach that person. So if they see a wetland as perhaps a negative thing, it's having that conversation with them, explaining to them that, well, the government appraises that and has a certain value associated with that, and they may score them or get them more reduction in their taxes when they go to donate or sell a property.
Okay, well, we do need to kind of move on. Go ahead, Chris. Were you going to say something?
No, I was just going to ask, Cindy, were you wanting to know whether as a committee somebody from open space would stand up and say that we support this at the town meeting? Is that what you're hoping to find out? Is that what you're
I need to understand. I want everybody here to understand what this bylaw is to the extent possible. And I personally support it. So I can stand up as Cindy Palmer and support this at town meeting. But I wonder if this committee wishes to support it. And it wouldn't have to be a unanimous vote. And I don't want to, of course, speak on behalf of the committee if we haven't had a chance to really understand or discuss this, or if people don't in favor. Now, Charlie's put forth an idea that this could sort of conflict with some landowners not wanting to support the concept of open space and conservation. And that's one opinion. I also have an opinion, and that is, we do know that there's sort of history in this town of certain, forces that were, stood in against certain procedures and ways to move forward. And the town, and hate to use the concept of the old guard network, but I also think it's a new day. And I think there's a lot of interest in this town towards conservation and towards protection. And, the fact that we as a globe are facing issues regarding our entire globe, really. And so I'm not sure that I'm feeling negative about the fact that this is not going to pass. I know there's been a lot of chatter maybe on social media, and I don't go there. But for the most part, I'm not. I think it's a case of getting out the vote. So that's my personal opinion. And I don't want to cut off conversation on this. Do others want to add to it? Any of that right now?
I just have two things to say. One's relevant, one's not. This is Janet. Who monitors the Wetland Protection Act? I've been told that there's no one to monitor violations other than abutters. Is that true?
So the way it works right now is we do not go out. The Conservation Commission does not patrol or look for violations. It is only when it is brought to our attention or brought to the Department of Environmental, the DEP's attention, which would then bring it to the Conservation Commission's attention to deal with it.
The abutter.
Or anybody in town, really. But typically, maybe an abutter would have more visibility into those things.
Okay, my other thing is unrelated. Is Charlie, the Article 8 of the special town meeting warrant is addressing this issue of the Wetlands Protection Act. And it is several pages long, but it is Article 8.
Yeah.
Look at that and print that out.
I've seen it.
Yes. Several pages long. Okay, just wanted you to make sure you knew.
Thank you.
Would it help at all for me to pull up the handout?
Not unless it's going to add to the discussion right now.
My apologies. I was just...
Okay, it's good, but
it's posted, and people just need to go to the website and look at it. Yeah.
So
It's true.
Does anybody else want to ask any more questions? I don't want to cut off conversation or discussion if there's more. So I'm expressing my question to all of you. Is anyone feel the need to make a motion to say whether or not Open Space Committee would be able to support this bylaw at the special town meeting? All right, hearing none, I guess we won't. So if anybody wants to stand up at special town meeting this Saturday, by the way, the weather doesn't look as bad as it was looking a few days ago for the prediction. Feel free to stand up if you feel like you want to support this, but we can't say it as a committee.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Cindy, you may want to just sound out both Diana and April on that too, given that they're not here tonight. But I get the sense it would be better as individuals rather than a committee endorsement.
Okay, well, I can sound them out, but we can't, meet outside of the meeting.
I know.
Yeah. So, all right, well, good. Moving on. Thank you very much.
It's a good discussion. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, well, it's complex by any
Yes, it
stretch of
is.
the imagination. All right, so Friends of Open Space report. I don't see that Eileen Hamill came, but I did call up the minutes of their last meeting. They now have a presence as a FOSOS.org. They have a website. They have now got a checking account established. They are Kestrel. It can transfer those funds that are held currently in Kestrel earmarked for Southampton, but Doric, who's working on Friends of Open Space, is pursuing something, and he put it in quotes, called an affirmation letter from the IRS to prove that they're a 501c3 organization, and that's important before any funds could be transferred. They're also trying to set up a PayPal option for people to make donations to Friends of Open Space. Dan knows this, they're developing a volunteer bank for assisting with trail maintenance, but as Marla, I'm just going to insert this, Marla just said in terms of the Mass Trails grant, we have to wait until all that is final because any volunteer work prior to that will not apply as a match. And it says they need a trail boss to work in charge, and I believe that's going to be through Conservation Commission. And they're looking at different kinds of items that can be purchased as a profit-making opportunity that say Friends of Open Space. Could be a sticker. One of them was a mask. That's cool. They're looking to develop a letterhead, and that's pretty much generally. So they're moving. Every time they meet, they have more ideas. Moving on, old business.
Wait a minute, they give a logo? I know they were talking about.
Yeah, they definitely did the logo. I'm sorry, that was done, and it was artwork by students at Norris, and vote took place, and it's very attractive. I think it's a circle.
They combined two logos actually.
That's right. Yep, it's very pretty. It's a nighttime sky with an owl on a branch.
Very pretty.
Who cooks for you? Who cooks for you? Old business. So we already mentioned open space and recreation plan status, and that's not yet, the draft is not yet final. We mentioned the Mass Trails grant, and I think enough was said from both Dan and Marla. Municipal, MVP, municipal V, what is V?
Vulnerability.
Vulnerability plan. I believe that that is still in its not started yet form. I did zoom into a select board meeting a week or so ago, and I guess the formation of the committee has not yet happened yet, so there isn't anything specific to report there. MPIC, Master Plan Implementation Committee status update. Chris, you got a sentence or two on that one?
Yeah, well, the survey obviously is finished, and we are going to be putting up, I may wait until after town meeting, so I may not get it up there until Monday, but we're basically putting up the results of the survey itself, which will have we'll show the answers to each of the 20 or so questions that were on the survey. So it'll talk about percentages and how many responded, and you'll be able to see what the general thought process was of the some 896 people that responded to the survey. And that's just kind of the raw report, if you will. We're going to be doing more written narrative around it and trying to do a little bit more analysis, but this will be something that'll be up on the website. And I've got an email address finally for the master plan committee. And so I think depending on how things go, I think I'm going to be inviting maybe comments and questions without having it done through the email account and not on Facebook. I refuse to have a discussion about this on the community page. So that would allow residents to, ask a question about what they're seeing in terms of responses, or make a comment, I guess. I may open a can of worms, I'm not sure, but that's what it's all about. And then at some point, probably not until the first meeting in November, we'll have a presentation to select board just to kind of run through a PowerPoint explanation of what it all means. But people will have a chance to look at it probably the week or so ahead of time, 10 days ahead of time before that meeting.
Great. Any questions on that? A lot of work went into this. Tons. Okay. Next is report on the Open Space Committee town email, and also presence on the town website. We also have an email address. It just came through yesterday. I will read it to you, and I will email it to you if you want. It feeds into my personal email, so if anything comes in, I will see it immediately. And it's openspace@townofsouthampton.org. Pretty easy. So I will automatically get emails on that. Okay. The next thing on the agenda is the follow-up on the parcels previously discussed. There's quite a bit to report. The first one I'm going to report on, and I am using this gentleman's name because he did send a letter to our town. His last name is Cykowski, Cykowski. That's 31 acres off Cook Road, map 31, lot 2. This is the landlocked property that is over on the Easthampton line and close to currently town of Southampton has conserved land there related to water conservation, and also, hope I say this right, Mass Fisheries and Wildlife. Is that the one? Mass Fisheries and Wildlife. There's been a lot of emails back and forth on this. Mark Walmsley, who I'm going to report on a little bit later, he's from Kestrel. He has been aware of this for 5 years, along with the people from Mass Fisheries and Wildlife. And the planning board utilized their consultant to look again at our subdivision bylaws, which state that any new subdivision in town, the road to this subdivision has to be accessible by another Southampton road. And so I'm going to be able to put that in writing. We don't yet have any kind of an appraisal on that property. And it's not like Southampton, I don't believe, is going to contribute to the conservation of it, because I think there's other entities that will be able to do that, possibly the town of Easthampton. They're looking at
We're all in phone mode tonight.
Hello.
Well, that's a loud one. Are you okay, Charlie?
I'm okay. Just a robocall.
Coming from Ed Gibson.
I watched my language last
That must
time.
be, we're doing robocalls for the election.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
So in any event, where was I going? So it's alive and it's moving, and I don't know where it's exactly going. I don't think there's a captain on the team. Marla, I do want to raise one thing, because you had an excellent point about how there might be other properties in our town that are not accessed through Southampton roads. I've brought that up at planning board, and the only thing we could conclude is that there might have been some grandfathered parcels, but since the new subdivision bylaw went in subdivision guidelines, sorry, not bylaw. Subdivision bylaw. Those would all have preceded that in terms of timing. But if you've got any very specific parcel, I know you sent me a map, but I couldn't quite identify a parcel. It was mostly on Mountain Road, I think, that you were looking at.
Right, and that would make sense because it was both Mountain Road and Cook Road. Both of them, the only ways to get to them are either through Easthampton or Holyoke.
Holyoke, right, yeah.
And this spot is right smack in the middle. However, if those were, certainly Cook Road and Mountain Road are not new, so, and now I'm getting all the calls from Ed, so it's,
Or I'll get again.
the landline already did it when I was mute, but
Okay, we unmuted you, okay. So anyway, that's the answer to that, we're still working on that one piece of property.
So Cindy, what is it exactly though that if Southampton isn't necessarily going to be interested in it, is that what you're saying, or?
Well, I didn't say interested. I said, would they have to financially put money towards it? I don't know, because there appears to be other entities that are very strongly interested, have been for a while, very specifically City of Easthampton and Mass Fisheries and Wildlife.
Right, okay.
And I know this came up at Select Board, and I did email Ed, reminded him that I had already sent him a summary of all the contacts that we'd made and stuff. Haven't heard back, but I guess he was going to possibly send a letter to the Tchaikovskys acknowledging their letter. Did that?
I think so, at least an acknowledgement of the letter. I mean, when it was brought up at Select Board, the reaction was from a couple of the members was like, well, we better at least answer the letter so that they don't turn around and hurry up and sell it for a development. But obviously, this has been on the radar screen on these people's property has been on the radar screen for years and years without any rush to, sell it off to a developer just yet anyway. So, but if at most I would assume Ed would just do an acknowledgement letter response.
Okay, well, I just wanted him to know that we had already sent a letter from Open Space Committee.
Well,
and
maybe send him a copy of that so he knows.
I did.
Okay.
I've sent off, a summary of that. I probably could follow up to see.
Okay.
But as you pointed out, he's quite busy these days. So I just don't want the Tchaikovskys to wonder, what are you doing over there in Southampton? Do you not talk to each other? So anyway, that's what I know on that. The next one is the town-owned land under what was formerly Alder Pond, and Barry Searle was going to try to come to a meeting. He couldn't come tonight. He had a conflict. So that's going to be postponed to another meeting. So the next one is that I've got on the agenda is the Lead Mine Road, 92 acres, map 6, parcel 6. This is that land that actually goes into Westhampton. I did talk with Mark Wamsley about that, and I am going to try to share a screen. So Diana Fetterman drafted a letter. Oh, look, they're all there. Holy cow. Okay, so this is just a sample letter. If you recall at the last meeting, we discussed the idea that, we need to sort of understand what letters are going and whether the whole committee is in agreement. This was drafted by Diana, and we haven't sent it yet. So I'm just going to quickly read it. Dear Ms., and I won't say the name out loud, the Open Space Committee of Southampton is dedicated to protecting lands that provide critical habitat, natural resources, and recreational opportunities for our town. Southampton is especially interested in preserving forested areas that help to create a wildlife corridor and replenish the watershed, as does your 92-acre on Lead Mine Road. At your convenience, we'd be happy to discuss with you your plans for your land and the conservation options available. How do I get this guy? Do I keep going down? Yeah. We would also like to recommend, and this I'm going to talk to you about in a moment under new business, but there is a program that's being sponsored by Mass Woods, and it's a webinar, so it's a Zoom program. It's not anybody have to travel to see it. So she put in here, we would like to recommend a new landowner webinar series offered by the University of Massachusetts. In 7 presentations, experts explain topics such as conservation tax credits, valuing your property, wills and trusts, and Chapter 61. The series is free and can be found at, she provided the www address, viewable anytime. Am I right, Chris, that the first one was videotaped? So we're hoping that the videotaped ones that we may have missed, because I already started, the first one was last Tuesday.
There's only been one so far, yeah.
Yeah, so, and then thank you for your stewardship. So does anybody have any comments on this letter? Because this is sort of a general letter. It's specific in that it mentions the parcel. So that's, does anybody have any concern about this, or can we go ahead and send this out?
No, this looks good to me. I think this is, well stated, yeah.
Okay, great.
No problem.
All right, and then I'm going to share another one for another parcel, and this is another one that was discussed last week. This is parcel map 5, lots 1 and 3. And these were people that had attended the neighborhood outreach programs, both of the dinners that were held. These people actually don't reside locally, they reside in New Hampshire. But if you recall, they have large parcel up there, almost on the kind of Westhampton border. So the same opening paragraph, and the option that there's conservation available. And then we thank them in this for their attendance at the neighborhood outreach dinner. So it's customized for that. And then recommending the Mass Woods program, and thank you again. They're going out under my signature with my email address, although, you know what, we're going to change this to the new email address. I was
just going to suggest that, yeah.
Thank you. That was done before, and I'll do that. My phone number, I'm not so sure about this yet. I may just stay with the email address. I think emails are enough. I'm already getting too many phone calls, too many texts. Dan LaValle keeps my, oh, no, sorry. So, okay, this is the same letter. So in a general question is this: are these letters adequate sort of going forward, customized around specific circumstances? I don't think we need to have each letter reviewed at every meeting unless it's dramatically different. How do people feel about that?
No, I would think, why don't we take a vote on these tonight, and then you've got kind of a template to go forward with. Okay.
Do I hear a motion to accept this as a template?
So moved. I think they're good letters.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Chris seconded it. All in favor of accepting this kind of letter as a template? Say aye.
Fowles, aye.
Aye.
Palmer, aye. Dan, are you voting?
Am I allowed to vote? I wasn't sure.
Yeah, well, you are the.
Okay. Aye.
And then Janet, are you voting? Did we lose Janet?
Looks like it.
Oh no.
Yep. She's gone.
She's taking minutes. Oh dear.
Oh.
All right. Well, I'll keep taking minutes. She'll probably zoom in again.
Well,
okay. All right. All right. Next one is abandoned property, map 40 on Middle Road near Whiteloaf. Renee brought this up. I don't have any report on it, and Renee's not here, so we will postpone to a future meeting on that one.
What was it again, Cindy, please?
It's map 40, and she never did give us a parcel number. She says it's abandoned property on Middle Road near Whiteloaf. And as I said, she never specifically gave us a number on that. So we're going to have to just postpone to. And then we also brought up on map 6, parcels 1, 2, and 13, which are on the Pomeroy Mountain side, and parcel 18, which abuts Clearwater Woodlands. I think that the parcel 18 on Clearwater Woodlands is one that's owned by a woman who, her husband only passed away a few months ago. And I think we have decided that this woman is elderly and has made it clear to some people that know her pretty well that she just isn't thinking about conservation at this point in time, and it may just go to her daughters, who are, and her niece knows very well the value of conservation. So I think we're going to hold on this, but we might send them the letter anyway and invite them to attend the webinars if they're interested. But I'm going to speak to somebody that knows this family.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about, Chris. Yeah.
I'd take the lead from the family. I'm not sure that I mean, you might send it to the niece.
Okay. All right. I can. That's Paula. Yeah. Okay. All right. And the other parcels, I think, are the ones. I'm going to hold on that one for now. I don't want to discuss that one right now. I think the person who owns those parcels has not been interested in talking to people about conservation, and let's hold on that. So the other one, didn't show up in the minutes. Oh, wait a minute. I know where they are. Too many papers here. So map 4, lots 1 and 2. Sorry, lot 1 is 120 acres up near the Westhampton, and it's near the Holyoke waterworks and over the reservoir recharge area. And this particular family has also attended some of the neighborhood outreach and has met with Mark Walmsley. They walked the property. They have said they're interested in conservation, but it's landlocked. And I just want them to be able to attend the webinar if they're interested. They happen to live 3 doors down from me here. So I'm gonna send them the letter. The other one is the one we talked about, map 9, parcel 1, and there might be another parcel on Fulmer Road, 183 acres. It's on the market right now for $1 million. This is the person who lives in Northampton, and his lot is also over the watershed of Tycomode, near the Holyoke Waterworks land. And I think he should get the postcards too, and the letter, just to see if we can talk with him. Okay?
Is it possible to get a list of these parcels? I'm flipping through these maps and
Yeah, they'll be in the minutes for one thing, but on top of that, we're still, oh, Janet, you're back. Are you back?
I don't know what happened. I just missed all that. I'm sorry.
All right, well, I took minutes for a short point there. We're still talking about lands.
I know where I stopped and I know where I came back, so my computer just died.
Okay, is it alive again? Did you plug it in or something? Yep, okay. So we have been trying to work on developing this Excel spreadsheet, Charlie.
Yeah,
and I just haven't given it to Janet, some of this stuff. Believe me, I'll do my best to work with Janet between now and the next meeting to get that up to date, and we'll put notes on that. So we'll all have a copy of it.
that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay. All right. I am moving kind of quickly because it's already 7 o'clock. Nobody likes meetings forever. I don't. So let's see here. Where are we? All right. So that's the old lands report. One of the things that was on old business was the status of town roads, old roads, discontinued versus abandoned. And April, I don't think was here last time. Am I right? And she, no, she wasn't here. And I was going to ask her as an assessor to speak with the chief assessor, Martha Leamy, about old roads. And I spoke to Martha myself. Martha doesn't seem to have anything in her office that's identifying old roads of any kind. Now, remind me, was it you, Marla, who thought that maybe our former town clerk, Janine, and you had looked at some old maps and documentation, maybe some old town meeting minutes, and had come up with a list? Is that what you told us?
We didn't come up with a list, and we were specifically looking for the access to our Pomeroy Mountain property. But Janine looked through old minutes to the town meetings, because that had a record of when they abandoned roads or otherwise dealt with them. And since Janine used to be in the assessor's office, she knew which old maps to look like, because depending on which decade it was and which company they had doing the assessor's maps, they showed more detail than others. We seem to be getting less detail as the time goes by. So you rummage around in the closet in Martha's office. You know, when you go in the door to the left, there's a closet. You rummage around in there, find the old, well, you just look through all of them at that section of town. You look through the old, records of the town meetings. And, the town is a couple hundred years old, so you just dig through that. But again, we were only looking for a specific property. But Janine had been trying to put together a document, and that's in the context of the town clerk's office, of the status of roads that are no longer in use.
Yeah.
So is it fair to say two things? One is, I shouldn't have been asking Martha because she's not up to date with all the stuff in her closet. I should have been asking Lucy. And the second thing is that it really comes down to when you're researching a specific question, not in general. What were you going to say, Chris?
I was going to say that it would be maybe more Janine than Lucy, but my other thought was, for some reason, I have in my head that somewhere Randall has a list of something.
He has some.
Nope. I already talked to Randall earlier this year. He said he may, Marla, I don't mean to say emphatically he doesn't have anything, but he doesn't have much. And he gave me an older map to give to one of our esteemed older residents who knew a lot about the history, specifically Ted Hendrick, to look at. And Ted had a lot of fun with it. And the whole idea was that Randall was going to come over and talk with Ted, but that never happened. Randall got very busy and it never happened. I tried to get Randall to go over there, and then we had so much hot weather that Ted's daughter was reluctant to have people, and here we are in the midst of COVID, too many visitors. I recently emailed Paula, his daughter, and said, it's cooler now. I'm sorry it's not Randall, it's only me. Can I come over? And she said, my dad's no longer interested in looking at this map. So we've lost, at least for now anyway, the history that Ted might have provided us. But no, Randall doesn't have it.
What about Dick Frary?
I would talk to Janine.
Did you say you're going to talk to her, Marla?
No, I said, I should have said one should. I'm not volunteering to do it. Somebody should talk to Janine, because Janine could tell you what book, folder, 3-ring binder she was putting together in the assessor's office with the record of the status of the roads, because a discontinued road is different than an abandoned road. And she was doing that research, and it was kept somewhere in the town clerk's office. It's just that from her prior employment on the other side of the wall, as it were, she knew how to read the assessor's stuff. But the one to talk to is Janine.
Well, that's an interesting thought. Do you think Janine, is she fully retired, or is she possibly interested in having that kind of conversation? Or I haven't.
I can't imagine anyone, even if all you're saying is where did you put it? And she'll say, in the upper right-hand corner of the shelf underneath where you sign to do whatever. It's a 3-ring binder, it's blue. Or,
Oh, okay.
I shredded it and threw it all away when I walked out the door. But I'm going to think, I cannot imagine someone with her years of service not saying where she put it.
Okay, I think I'm going back to Martha then. I'm going to ask Martha to make that call to Janine so that they can, because I'm not familiar with where's what, and I can't go in there. So it just seems like any one of us is an additional person in the conversation. What does everybody think about that? Versus me making the phone call to Janine. I could call Janine and she can call Martha, I suppose, but.
Yeah, but I don't know what you get from Martha because the book or whatever is in the town clerk's office.
I thought you said it was in the assessor's office. You just said that.
Janine got some of the information from the assessor's office, but she was in her position as town clerk was collecting that sort of thing. So it would be, even some of her source materials were from the assessor's office. Some of them were from the town clerk's office, but her book of them would be somewhere in the town clerk's office. So the one to speak to is Janine.
Yeah.
Janine.
I would say Janine, and then she can say, well, I left it, wherever in the town clerk's office, and then we could, contact Lucy. And I'm able to go into the town hall, so I could get it.
Okay.
If we could put our hands on it. But I think Janine would be just as, I agree with Marla that Janine would be the person to contact. Yeah.
Chris, are you interested in calling Janine yourself? Do you know Janine very well? If not, I do, but
I don't know her well. I've met her a few times, but I don't say I know her well, no. But
I know her pretty well over the years. I know Janine pretty well.
do you want to call her then and
Sure,
follow up on this? That's great. Okay.
Okay.
Very good.
so again, we're looking for a list of abandoned and/or discontinued roads, right?
Roads, yeah.
Two
Okay.
kinds: discontinued or town-owned, not maintained; abandoned, reverted back to ownership of property owners on each side. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
Got that, okay.
The next thing on old business is to continue our review of our map assignments. However, it's already 7:15, and we're missing a couple of committee members tonight. I'm not saying no, but if somebody was very eager to talk about a specific thing on their map assignment, we could. How do people feel tonight? Anybody want to offer one for tonight, or can you just wait till another meeting?
I'm looking forward to that spreadsheet that you mentioned a half hour ago. Just so I get oriented to, we have a number of parcels that may or may not be interested. We may be or maybe not be interested in it. And that's a starting point, I guess.
Yeah,
So,
okay, good. It's a work in progress, yep.
Yeah.
Okay, that's easy. New business. So one of the new business points is an update on, well, wait a second. All right, I put this in order of the Open Space Committee. Last time we met, we said we were going to talk about whether we would like to propose anything for a CPC project, Community Preservation Committee, or it's better stated, CPA, Community Preservation Act project monies that could be reviewed by the CPC for potential financial support of it. As it turns out, I'm on that CPC committee. That's kind of redundant. I'm on CPC right now as a planning board rep. Janet's been on it for quite a while, and we talked last night, and according to the chairperson, Virginia Ahart, they haven't had any proposals before them at the current time. I think they're thinking some are coming. Has anyone had a chance to think about any of that? And do you have any proposals?
I remember on one of the last discussions with some of the friends Dan has at the University of Mass, that we mentioned getting a map together on the Bonds Aquifer and showing the major hydrology. And I think Diana mentioned putting some of the structures on that map. It's all in Southampton, as well as maybe putting some information about the regulations when people have a house over the aquifer. There are certain deed restrictions which may not be fully recognized or remembered as time goes on. So getting together a map like that might be useful, both from the point of view of the town and the aquifer, and getting our name on something.
So I think that's great. And I meant to give an update on the student that we'd hoped we'd get through the conservation class.
Mm-hmm.
And I have emailed and had an email back from the professor. His name is Paul Cantazaro.
Mm-hmm.
And he is very kind. He emailed me back. He said he was going to put it out before the students, and I've seen nothing since. So I don't feel very confident that we're going to see a student working with us this semester. But back to the project. You know, one thing you could consider doing, Charlie, it would be a big help. There, on the website, remind me if this is correct, Janet, on the website under Community Preservation Committee, there is the application, correct?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
It's a PDF, and you can just fill in your information and submit it, or bring it to our meeting.
And if you would consider doing that and bringing it to this committee and drafting out your ideas on that application before you submit it to CPC.
Yes.
To sort of get it, you know, kind of in a form that, you know, clarifies your thinking, and then we can give updates or ideas on how that's written. Would you
That's good.
be able to do it?
I'll do that. I'll take that on.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. Good. Has anybody
About
else?
the Bonds Aquifer, essentially, and what content. And I would think that if there's no student willing and able to help us, we'd work with PVPC.
That would be either a DLTA grant or another kind of grant. And
You couldn't get money from the, well, that's, I have to be, you couldn't get CPC money for that?
I didn't say you couldn't. Oh, you mean for PVPC?
Yeah, to get, you know, to help develop the map. Would that be a project, Janet? If we wanted to develop a map on the Bonds Aquifer and
Well,
we had
would that be
units?
considered open space? It doesn't sound like something we would do, but.
No.
What,
You mean, well, I'm confused. Do you mean to pay a PVPC person?
Well, someone's got to have to put the sweat equity and develop it. We have to, you know, do a lot of things with the water department and get a lot of data as to, and we have the Bonds Aquifer committee. There's a separate committee that's concerned about the Bonds Aquifer.
It's defunct. It's defunct, Charlie. It's gone.
Completely?
Yep.
All right. Well, anyway,
you can put
things
together
are
a
changing.
proposal.
Things are changing. But that's not a project that CPC would support? Janet?
I can't say no, but if it's considered open space, it might could. But I would suggest putting together your proposal and presented it to our committee.
Okay.
And
No problem.
leverage
We'll
it.
have to look for funding. We'll
Okay.
have to look for funding, that's all.
Just for clarification, unless I misunderstood you, I thought you said to get PVPC to help create this map and get, and they, I don't think, you tell me, Janet, if I'm incorrect, I don't think that CPC would pay PVPC for that work. What I said was, if we thought we wanted to apply for a district local DLTA, technical assistance, DLTA,
Okay,
that is a separate kind of funding. It's not an impossible idea, but that has to be supported by either the select board or the planning board. We went through this last year, and I think, and Chris, I'm looking to you, was the deadline on that December 31st and we were scrambling like crazy, or was it January? I think it was December 31st, wasn't it?
December, yeah.
Yeah. So it's not to say it's an impossible idea, but there are some steps to take to to utilize the DLTA. Oh, it's alphabet soup here tonight.
One thought, and Janet, I think I'm right. On the town website under CPC, there's a list of projects that have previously been approved by CPC, right?
Yes.
In the various categories.
Yeah.
You know, so it may be useful to take a look at the open space recreation category of projects that have been approved over time.
Right, and but I want to say also, we do not give money to a project like Pioneer Valley or something. We give the money to the Conservation Commission or to planning or whatever, whoever makes the proposal. The CPC does not fund a project. You understand what I'm saying? We have an entity like Conservation Commission has to come in with their project, and then we give them have to go to the town meeting and all that to make sure that we can give the money to the project. But we wouldn't be paying Pioneer Valley.
Yeah, directly. Okay, the first step is to get an application, get the idea filled out and present it to the Open Space Committee here and
Correct.
move on with how we want to finance this or what we want to do to modify the initial proposal.
And
That's simple. I'll take care of that.
Okay, we normally meet the first Wednesday of the month, and I think we're probably going to be meeting the first Wednesday in November.
Okay. Very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
And
All right, thank
does
you.
anybody else have any proposed ideas? Dan, go ahead.
So, I don't know. Sometimes I like to dream big dreams. So I'll throw an idea out there and I'll try to be quick about it. I've learned through my class that sometimes the location of open spaces and recreation areas are not always located in areas that are close to low economic housing. So the project I would like to propose is a combination of low-income housing and an open space project where you
Woo, big.
I know, a big dream, right? Because you're giving the people who need it the most the space. You're giving them the most some valuable space where they can be close to nature. So that's a big dream.
So just a thought, we do have a housing commission in our town. And I think you and I had a conversation about this a few months ago.
It's from a paper I read from the guys in Northampton. I think I've sent it to you.
Yep. And not only that, I sent it on to a member of the Housing Commission, and his name is Jim Sini, and he was interested in that. So I'm not saying it's a bad idea, Dan, but you might contact Jim Sini and or go to a housing meeting. Not that I'm inviting you to go to every meeting in the whole town, but you've tried.
I don't know if I can take another one.
Yeah, no, Dan is going to be on an outlaw poster pretty soon here.
I do know that I do.
Yeah, proposing low-income housing, they're going to kill me.
So it's complex because we already have a bylaw on inclusionary housing, inclusionary zoning, and I believe because of an email I saw that that is being looked at by the Housing Commission right now, and they want to, even have a joint meeting with the Planning Board on this. But nonetheless, I think your point is very well taken, that we want to, think about ways to provide the right kind of recreation and open space for all town residents and not just people who live up in the boondocks or whatever. But just a thought, but it's a large project, and I don't know if that's specifically a CPC project, but it's not to say, if you want, you can look on the website for CPC, see the application, see how you would massage it onto that application and go from there, okay? It's okay to dream big. Anybody else have any other ideas?
I'll have a comment on map 23, parcel 7. It belongs to Pamela Dodds, and it was considered for a affordable housing site. And we went through a number of stages, but in fact, it is 19 acres. But you cannot, and the number of units you'd put on there are not compatible with, they don't have any septic, and so it had to have a very small amount of housing on there, I believe, for the project to go as distinct from its initial incarnation. So that's on map 23, and that's something that I saw in my looking over the maps that I was supposed to come up with some ideas about. But I mean, that's just those people, Pamela and Jess Dodds, that property is available. Maybe they had some interest in as getting it associated with affordable housing, but it didn't work because of the regulations. So I'll throw that out. Sorry. Left everybody speechless, apparently.
Well, you didn't leave us speechless, but Janet, I think that's the lot that was sold.
Was it sold already?
Dan, isn't that the one we walked on the other day?
Well, it certainly sounds like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
23 in front of me, but
Well, I'm looking right at it, and Charlie, I think that was subsequently sold.
that's a
Oh, okay.
Felton
I'm
project.
a little out of date in a lot of these things, so okay.
Say again, Janet, what were you saying?
It's the Felton property that we were just on. Okay.
I'm looking at the map myself, and it's public record that that is the property I was referring to when I said the planning board was it's got a cease and desist order on it right now because the planning board discovered through, that it exceeded the disturbance that was originally proposed, but it's no longer owned by Dodds.
Dodds, okay.
Beautiful location, gorgeous.
Yeah.
But thank you for bringing that up.
Well.
My understanding is that, the Housing Commission is very eager to figure a way to utilize, and back to CPC. CPC has money earmarked specifically for affordable housing.
Yep.
And how much is it? It's 750,000 or something like that at this point, right?
Yeah. It's several hundred thousand. It's at least that. Yeah.
Yeah. Dan, just for your sake, I think you used a different term a moment ago. I think we used the term affordable housing.
Affordable housing.
Yeah, that's.
I think I said low income housing, so
Yeah,
my bad.
Well, I just think we're using affordable.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's not necessarily Section 8 housing.
That's right.
They're
There's
two
a
different
definition
things.
for it. I see funny faces. I mean,
I don't know what that means. So I was going to go Google it later, but
you should Google it.
That's
Yeah.
what I was going to do.
All right, moving on. Any other specific recommendations for a CPC project? All right, well, I'm going to read what Diana emailed me. She had like 7 ideas.
Ooh.
I'm going to read them out loud because I said I would. She said, a kiosk or sign with a trail map at the Alice Brown property. At this point, I'm going to ask a question of the Conservation Commission people that are here. Is work being done on the Alice Brown property? And I was there with my good friend Chris Fowles the other day, and I know that I think you've been thinking about doing some work there of some sort, right, Marla or Charlie or Dan?
I think they're going to do a forest cutting plan there.
Yeah.
You are correct.
Yeah.
Is that going to include, what is the thinking of the Conservation Commission about a kiosk or a sign or a trail map? Is that a long-term part of the plan?
That's always a long-term part of the plan, but you first have to start with getting money.
Well, she's proposing this as a CPC project.
Isn't that kind of a conservation project? See, I'm not understanding where open space,
Crossover here, right? Yep. We
Yeah.
talked about that last time, and I agree with you. This is more of a Conservation Commission.
And I
potential.
believe CPC money, right? I believe cannot be used for trail maintenance, though.
No.
Yeah, but putting up a kiosk and making a trail and putting up signs it can be used for.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to propose that she either talk with you, Marla, directly, or you're getting the idea right now, or Charlie or Dan, that was a proposal. What about a story walk in a conservation area? Would that be a Conservation Commission project versus open space?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
A story walk is when they take a book, it might be an already published book or a brand new book, usually a children's kind of book with pictures, take it page by page, you walk like 50 feet, there's a little lectern sort of thing, and you read the story as you go along. There's a beautiful one right now up in Westhampton at the Greenberg Conservation Area, and I went to one in Maine last summer. It's very fun. It's very nice. It is something we could think about for the future. You've not encountered a story walk before?
I have not, in our traipsing around in Maine and New Hampshire, throughout the New England woods, I have never come across that, but I'm also not looking for that.
Yeah.
Is the Greenberg one new, Cindy, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was there maybe earlier in the summer, and I don't remember seeing anything.
It might have been here from this summer, yeah. I've been up there 4 times in the last month and a half, and it's very, very nice. You should go. I'll go.
Yeah, I will.
All right, monthly trail walks with birders, naturalists, botanists. These are just ideas she threw out. That could be part of the education concept that, I don't know if that's CPC. She's talking about bringing together other, Janet, let me ask you this. In general concept, would a project that would be supported by CPC include education of, somebody, landowners, et cetera? Because is that a potential project?
I don't think, we do open space, historic preservation, community housing, and outdoor recreation. That's our main thrust.
So some of this is recreation. Okay.
It could be, yeah. Maybe it could be qualified in that, but that's the areas that we work in.
Focus on,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm going to kind of refine some of that and not talk about it anymore. Does anybody have any other ideas for a CPC project, or it's not too late to be thinking of it for another time? Okay. And then the next one was, there is an effort to bring some volunteers together. We were talking about how Open Space Committee might propose any kind of volunteer work, and I don't want to cross over onto the Conservation Commission's responsibilities and mandates. So trail maintenance is not Open Space Committee. I don't have any, at this moment, I don't have any ideas for volunteers personally.
Unless you can find people who are who are real estate specialists in evaluating property values. I mean, that's
appraisal. Yeah.
Appraisal. I mean, that type of volunteer work, like someone who wants to do pro bono work as a lawyer.
That's
Well, we have April, and do we have a lawyer that does volunteer work? Now, I remember a lawyer in Easthampton, Karen Ademski, who was working on the Greenway. Does she still do, or you also have Amanda Kemp. So there are people who might be interested in doing that kind of work, evaluating property and so on.
And I would just point out that it is a specialized type of appraiser for conservation land. To get the conservation value, they have to have certain certifications. So I don't know if April has that or not. I'm just mentioning it.
No, I doubt it. I mean, April's a realtor. I don't know that she's an appraiser.
correct. She could give a market appraisal. This would sell for, or I would put this price on. In fact, I've already approached her to look at the Sykowski property. She's quite busy. That's why she's not tonight. And Paula Mack, who's not here, is also a realtor.
Yeah, they're talking about this type of job in my work, and they said there's a real shortage of these people. They're like, if any college students interested, it costs between $1,000 to $30,000 per property. And so all the colleges were like, oh, really?
So I have it under other business, and I want to keep going because we still have some other new business to talk about. But I did speak with Mark Walmsley from Kestrel, and Kestrel has developed a partnership with Conservation Works. And Conservation Works includes some pretty expert people like Pete Westover, and I know Charlie knows who that is, but also they've got an attorney working with them named Elizabeth Robliska. Have you heard of that name before? She's, she used to work for somebody else, another conservation entity of some kind. So if we need an appraisal on a piece of property, and we need an expert. It's not to say that they're already automatically going to provide it for us, but we need to go to Kestrel and say, this is something that we're going to need. Can you give us some guidance or perhaps even help provide that kind of expertise? That was made clear to me in my conversation with Mark Walmsley. Okay? All right. So I'm going to move on. The next one is Charlie has developed a, I'm going to do share screen now. Charlie has developed let me see if I can do this. There we go.
Yeah.
It's actually turns out to be 1.5 pages. He had talked before about, and I see this as great, presenting a great value of sort of an easy looked at short piece of paper that could be used to sit down and talk to a landowner. And Charlie, you want to talk a little bit about this now?
Well, basically, it's something I saw 8 or 9 years ago, and I went to the Mass Woods site and found the verbiage. None of this verbiage in this thing is. It's all cut and pasted. And it's nothing that I had to author, but it is giving a very simplified view of the options. And it's because the Mass Woods site and the webinar, you know, it gets very complicated very quickly. So this might be something to put into a brochure and maybe send it with some of those letters you're going to send out so that people have some understanding of what the options are in a simplified way. That seemed to be useful some years ago.
Can I make one comment?
Of course.
One thing I think would be nice if I was looking at it from a perspective of someone who may have land that I may want to potentially pass part of it. I want to protect its value, its natural value, but maybe pass some on to my heirs. Is a picture. I can picture it because I've seen it in some of my classes, showing how people can still maintain sections of their property that can be used for general purposes while donating and putting conservation restrictions on other parts. So allowing them to achieve both goals of passing on their legacy to their heirs and also maintaining the beautiful characteristics of the land.
Yeah.
I think,
yeah,
go ahead, Charlie. Go ahead.
I think in part the verbiage in these options, bequest and partial interest, and also the business of putting it in your will or reserved life estate. You can stay on the property until your passing and that kind of stuff. There are options in this that it just reviews all the report, including partial bequests and so on. It's in some of these statements.
You're only just seeing this flash on the screen. Nobody's had a chance to, read it all sentence by sentence and comment. I think given that you said you didn't author any of this yourself, you just took this from the Mass Woods site. Is that?
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
I want to make sure that it's 100% credited. And I don't know if there's a need for permission to create this from their site. That's my...
Well, that's the one thing I had concern about. We end up with a trademark, but it's that's the fact. It has been more or less lifted off of other documents.
Did you see the name at the bottom?
There was no name.
No,
There
no,
was
no.
Maybe,
There was a
maybe a organization,
Author.
not an author, but an organization that has a brochure about it, and it's something with. I'd have to go back and look at it. It's like a town or it's like a town. So if we need to document that, we can, I think.
I guess I'm just pointing out Paul Catanzaro's name.
Yeah, this is
Well, we have his name there and identifying his book, but his information is not included in this document.
really, okay.
Anyway.
You know, Charlie, I know you did some work on this. Is there anything like this already created by either Mass Woods or Paul Catanzaro, kind of this short, something that we could purchase? You know what I'm saying? That we're not recreating it?
There might be. There might be.
I am worried about copyright, and I know we need permission. The concept is great. I know that book, Your Land, Your Legacy, is longer. It's essentially the same stuff, but it's longer and a little more complex. What do you want? What should we do at this point, everybody? Anybody?
Why don't I go back and look at my sources here and see if there is something that's been published and identify what has been published, and maybe I can make contact to see if it's available for us. How's that?
That sounds good to me. I will say that the book, Your Land, Your Legacy, was sent to all the people for free that attended the neighborhood outreach grant, neighborhood outreach programs that were run by the town a year ago, almost 2 years ago now. And so consequently, it may not be that there's costs involved. It may be that there is something already. We don't have a budget. You understand that. We have no money.
Yeah.
Everything we do is, you know, if we send out these letters, I'm going to put the stamp on it and I'm going to get the printing done myself personally. So that's a reality. We can go to Friends of Open Space when they're finally set up with their whole thing for money. And that's an option too, but we have to kind of keep that in mind that, you know, we want to know that there's a good use of any kind of money that's spent. That's my feeling. I think the concept is a great one. Do people want, or Charlie, do you want to wait and work on that a little more before I email this out to everybody, or what do you want me to do?
Well, I think they've already received it. The first draft that I pulled out.
Did everybody receive this? Because I didn't send it.
One of the emails, yeah.
I think
You sent it? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
I
Did
added-
everybody else get it? Did everybody else get it?
Doesn't, I mean, I think I've seen it, but I don't think I've seen it in my email. I think I saw it somewhere. Did you put it up on the screen last meeting? No.
No?
No? Okay.
No, I got a response from Chris and
Did you?
Diana. So they got it in the email, and I know Dan was on it too, so it's
Okay.
out there somewhere. But the point that we should see if there's something already published that we could access is a good point, and I'll check on that.
You did, Charlie. I'm sorry. I just see it. And September 18th, you sent it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. I knew I'd seen it somewhere. Thank you.
Yeah, all right. Well,
All right.
so that's the action plan. The action plan is for me to get more information about already published things. It's not in that Your Land, Your Legacy document. I understand that costs $10 to get from the University of Massachusetts, and you gave it away free to...
They gave it away free. They sent it.
They did? Oh,
Yeah.
cool. All right.
Well, he had money. I mean, he's got grant money that he supported the whole project. I suppose if you don't,
Okay.
if you lose your, I've got one copy here. Okay. So the next one is Janet has put together hold on here. Here it is.
Proposed poster.
Oh, this is not the one I wanted to start with. Wait a minute here. She's put together sort of a, hold on here, where is it?
Use yours, don't use mine.
You sure?
Sure.
I was going to show yours first. No?
There's not that much difference anyway, no.
Oh, this is yours, Janet.
Okay.
So I looked at it. I did make a few suggestions myself. One thing that I wasn't very happy to see on here from myself is that we can confidentially guide you and your family in prioritizing your long-term plans. I don't feel confident that I can guide people. I can only hear them out, talk with them, try to help find resources. But to me, it fell out of my area of expertise. So you took, sorry, Janet, go ahead.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with you.
Could you use the word support maybe instead of guide?
Well,
Let's look at Cindy's.
yeah, all right, let me do
Slide.
this.
It's not that much.
And where is this poster going to go? What is this for?
Well, we were kind of hoping maybe we could have a town meeting or post it like at the dump or town hall or something like that. What would you think?
It's just a visual about our town. I mean, about our committee. That was my idea and my understanding, right, Janet?
Just to see, to show what we do and.
Can I say something?
Of course.
We mentioned that we don't have those skills to do those types of things right now. But, those are skills that a land trust would have. So it's sort of like we don't want to either do the same job as a land trust, or we want to be working and partnering with a land trust. So we could say that we have those skills to assist them if we can arrange for, say, when we have made contact with those people, for a land trust to bring their right talented individual to have the conversation about how to best protect and conserve their land.
So this is the draft I did, and it kind of built on what you just said, Dan. All I did was take out that one sentence that was right here, and I just left, we can assist landowners in land conservation considerations, and the assistance could be connecting them with a land trust, or it could be helping them with an appraisal, or it could be giving them a list of attorneys that might be doing this kind of work, or it could be
cool.
Recommending that they go to speak to their financial advisor, or
Yes.
or whatever. It just, I didn't like that idea that we ourselves were going to be.
Okay, I understand now. I was confused by what you're saying, so I understand.
Okay, but this is the concept. I think it's nice to have something. We have no money. Remember that part. So in terms of getting this printed, I don't know if, do they have a color printer at Town Hall? Can they do these nice pictures? I think it's nice to have something. I mean, the day will come again when we as residents of the town will be able to go into Town Hall. We can't right now. The dump, I got to be honest with you, has too much stuff on it, and when people go to the dump, they don't stand around and read things. That's my feeling about that. It's not to say we can't put it there. Did we get very far with the master plan implementation surveys at the dump, Chris?
It was, the signage was put up in the window of the little shack there, yeah.
So, along with getting an email, does the Open Spaces group also get a sub website of the town website? That's
what I said earlier. It hasn't come through yet.
Okay, I'm sorry, because this could be the contents on your website, so people could go.
Yeah, Janet, that's a great idea. As a start, we could just, when we get our presence on the website, on the town website, it'll include our charge, which the select board already approved. It'll include our names, how to contact us, and then it could include this.
Yeah, I just only offered this as a suggestion. It's, and I told you, Cindy, I'm welcome to anybody's ideas or changes or recommendations.
All right, how about if I do this? Let's go, I'll email this out to people and you can chew on it in your own, the privacy of your own home and see what you think. And we'll put this on for the next, the agenda next month. How's that sound?
Fine.
By that time, we might have a presence on the website.
Great.
Were you going to say something, Charlie?
Well, I have a color printer. If you'd like me to print out a number of copies, and I can put them in your mailbox, Cindy, if that's agreeable.
Well, that means I got to deliver them.
Huh?
That means that I have to deliver them to people. You mean once it's finalized?
Yeah, once it's finalized.
Oh,
You
okay,
want
well,
to see what
that's-
it looks like as a colored poster, right?
Well, for now, I just want to see it like this. I don't think I
Okay.
need the hard copy quite yet, but thank you.
Okay.
That's really kind. Yeah, I thought you meant to give to everybody on the committee.
Oh, no, I could print out some, that's all.
For now anyway, I'm happy just looking at it online like this. And if we go to a place like Paradise, they will do, they're skilled at making sure the spacing is correct and all of this, and
Sure.
they may change things. That's been my experience. Like we've worked with developing postcards and things like that, and we think we have it perfectly, and then they say, no, it's not going to print out straight. So, okay, so we'll put this on for next month, okay? And then Dan, the next thing is we're going to talk about your idea for, and I don't have anything to flash on the screen, and it's already 10 of 8.
I'll be quick.
10 of 8.
So,
yeah, go ahead and explain.
all right.
it.
So I know that we have our paper maps, and the concept I was bringing up is would it be beneficial, or is there benefit to making a GIS map for this group, so that we can capture information about each of these parcels digitally, and have that such that we can overlay different pieces of information about, say, the biological value or the different maps that are available through the state to help us make decisions. So combine some of that mapper stuff that Brittany may have shown you, along with the work that we have all been doing in terms of hand evaluating each property. So it was something I was just proposing, but I wouldn't want to do anything without talking to this group, because it does change it from a handwritten form, which only certain people have copies of, to something that is digital. But I guess it's the same as the Excel spreadsheet, I guess. Anyways.
How would it be different than Oliver or something else?
Because it would contain the information that we're gathering, or the evaluation criteria that we have identified and are looking at for each parcel. So it would be a map view of all this data that we have on sheets. It'd be like Oliver with a layer for this group.
So what, I know you're very expert in this. You're a software engineer. But
actually, I'm a systems engineer. I used to be a software engineer. But sorry, don't want to waste time.
So how long would it take to do this? And you had to personally purchase GIS, you said, the software.
Yeah, I mean, I would buy the software just to do it. So it would be something for me to do for fun, as a side thing. But I wouldn't start on it without your permission.
So Dan, do you remember what I told you Mark Walmsley's comment on that was?
He said something along the lines of, can you say it again? Sorry.
Well, so I'll have to give people just a tiny bit of background here. So Dan told me about another land trust in another part of the state. Was it Essex? I think Essex County. And they have a product that's another kind of map product that they were volunteering to go into different municipalities, even well distance from where they are, and help identify lands of particular conservation value. So what I told Dan was we have a very good relationship with Kestrel, and I didn't want to jump over into another land trust until I at least spoke to Kestrel. So I did. I asked Mark Walmsley if they had any such product, and the answer was no, they don't. They use Oliver and Mapper, and they don't have a customized product like that. But then I told him we have Dan on our committee, and he's quite expert, and he's offered to do this. And Mark's concern was that you have the expertise, Dan, and if you're not around, nobody else could use it or update it or any of that. He says when you do something highly customized like that, you have to think of the support aspect of it. That was
right. It would be, yep. And you'd need another Dan to do it.
Yeah.
someone who knows about GIS and that mapping capability. So,
Cindy, when we started off way back when, didn't you have some maps from the Audubon Society that indicated environmental value of different parcels in Southampton? It was very congested.
It was,
and,
yep.
Is that accessible in a simplified form for us?
That's actually, that was the one from Brittany Gutermuth.
Yeah.
And was that Mapper? I think it was. Wasn't that Mapper? Yeah. So we are aware of that. It had its limitations because it was congested. But I think, Dan, what you were telling me was that you would integrate some of the other.
Yeah. I would try to do what Essex has done in that they are able to go after multiple grants on a parcel of land by looking at the different maps and say they'll combine a grant for the water protection with another grant that proves that it has ecological land value. So with all these different maps they can pull together, they can create more potential for funding. So that's their approach to getting grant money.
Well, that kind of brings up another question. I'm not going to tell you not to do this, but I am going to say if you have to put $100 out personally to buy it, that's a lot of money. And if there's other concerns, and maybe what we need to do, now that we know Kestrel doesn't do this, maybe we need to approach Essex at some point to do this kind of.
They would be free, according to them, as in they get grants to do this work. Mm-hmm. And I understand not wanting to go around Kestrel. Kestrel's very valuable for us. We need them. They're a partner. But the tools, and then you wouldn't have the concern of losing the Dan, right? Because you'd have the Essex.
Yeah.
And they're a land trust. They're a large land trust for an entire county.
So any other discussion or questions about this right now, or thoughts from what he's proposing?
I can see some long-term value in terms of this notion of having some, very site-specific mapping. If we were interested in a particular parcel, to acquire somehow or another, to be able to go out for a grant to do that, that makes a lot of sense to me. I do know I did some GIS work in my previous job. I had a Dan who tried to teach me, and it was okay, but it takes a lot. I mean, it's not easy sometimes, depending on what you're looking for, but it can reveal some very interesting information. I don't know. I guess I'm a little leery about going to another land trust. I don't know what I feel about that yet. I guess I'd want to know more about Essex and what they do more.
Can I jump into something else right now, and then we'll go back to this because it sort of connects. And I just wanted to give you a little report about my hour-long conversation with Mark Walmsley, and I've thrown in little bits on it here. I actually typed it up, Janet, for the minutes, and now I can't find it. I don't know where it is in my computer. I saved it to an odd place. I don't know what I did with it. But in any event, Mark Walmsley, known to some of us, known to me pretty well. He's he seems to be assigned to Southampton among other towns that he works with. Very easy to work with. He's actually come to our meeting. You may recall he met with us when we were meeting over the town hall. I think most of us were there except for maybe you, Dan. Maybe Marla wasn't there that night. So he's very eager. He's very pleased to see how much is happening in Southampton. The development of an open space committee, the development of a Friends organization, the fact that the Conservation Commission has now got, you know, a lot of different members with associate members. His regards to you, Marla, by the way. The fact that we are finalizing our open space and recreation plan, we're moving in that direction. The wetlands protection bylaw that's hopefully going to be passed, et cetera, and the Mass Trails Grant. Very pleased about all of that. They have done some major conservation work in other communities. They did a big one in Westhampton, and they try to do one big project a year. And I started throwing out some of the names of parcels and some of the numbers of acres, and we talked about the Mass Landscape Partnership potential grant. You know, there's some work that has to be done to join together the parcels, or the minimum 500 acres that are connected to other conservation areas. He said he knows a lot about that. He's worked very hard on that, and he's very willing to help us with that. However, he said the concept is partnership. Who would be our partners? It could be other communities like Westhampton or Easthampton or Holyoke or, you know, Huntington or something. It also could be other conservation entities like what is it called up here? I can't remember, but different conservation entities. It also could be multiple landowners. That becomes a partnership, and multiple committees and boards within our community, et cetera. You have to kind of build this work together partnership concept. So he said that's very critical. It's a match type grant. So in other words, we have to find the matching. The matching could be working with other partners that are giving money towards it, like Mass Wildlife and Fisheries and Wildlife. It could be getting credits through the CR. That could be part of the partnership. It's very complex, and I'm not able to speak to it fully, but he said they're very eager to work with us on something like that. He said that right now there's nothing shelf ready for Kestrel to follow up on. So we're not shelf ready. We're far from shelf ready. We have to make all these connections with the landowners, but it might not happen in 2021. It might happen in 2022. We may do a lot of work in this next coming year to bring together some landowners, and this could be a possibility. So that was one thing we talked about. He also told us that let's see here. He's walked property with a few different landowners in our town, some of whom went to the neighborhood outreach grant programs, and he gave me some names. He also has developed his own map, which has just got the parcels of people that he's talked to, it's not a specialized map, it just has names sort of hovering over different areas. He also talked about the carbon sales idea. Remember we talked about that? That's many thousands of acres usually, but that's becoming more useful. Carbon sales being something where we partner with another entity like the state of California, their carbon footprint is in bad shape, and so we have all the carbon here in the Northeast, or a lot of it, and so we can partner with them, and you could get money from it. Regulatory market versus the voluntary market. You probably understand that better than I do, Dan. He also said what I just said a moment ago, that there's a partnership with Kestrel and Conservation Works. I mentioned that already. So it was a very positive conversation. And I think that I wouldn't ever want to burn this bridge at all. We shouldn't, we can't. And I know Janet has a long relationship with the Kestrel, right? You've worked with them on your personal property. Is this correct, Janet? That, yeah. It was a pretty good conversation. He wants to be kept in the loop. We could bring him to a meeting at another future time to talk more about it. But I think it's very, very positive, in my opinion. Does it say we would never go to an Essex? No, not really. But I think now, back to your idea, Dan, I think it's going to be your decision. If you want to wait a while, see if we can build up on this Excel sheet of lands, or if you want to jump in and start creating something, it's your business to think of that. You want to talk about it at a future meeting or what?
Yeah, I think so. I see if there's ways it could add value to the work that you're doing, and I completely agree. And I hinted on that before, that the Kestrel relationship is a very important relationship.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Let's keep going and finishing up this meeting tonight. Where's my minutes?
While you're looking, I just glanced over on the famous social media site, and just to know that the Friends of Open Space, Mia, I believe her name is?
Mia, yeah.
Mia has put out a shout out to support the wetlands bylaw on the social media site. So I think that supplants the open space endorsement. We'll take the Friends of Open Space endorsement.
Okay, thank you for that. Good. So the final thing I want to tell you about is that we had an inquiry from a town resident to have the Open Space Committee look at a particular parcel over in the Pequot Road area. Pequot, specifically Bass Cove Road. And if you look at your map, and I'll just hold this up, it's this spot down here in the corner, 44A, B, C, D, okay? It's that funny one that's way at the corner there. It's state land, and it's, what the question was, could we consider a way to allow more town residents to access, go through the state land and fish and swim and enjoy Pequot Pond? Because mostly it's all private people around there. Except for the state park, you know, where that is. That's actually, I think, in Westfield. So I did a lot of inquiry. I spoke to somebody whose family has lived there for a long time. She went down there. She rode her bike around. I went down there. I couldn't park. It's all no parking, small dirt road. And there's a chain across a kind of natural corridor that goes right to the water. It looks like people, and it says police take notice, no trespassing, etc. And it said that it looked like people were dumping their leaves and their sticks and their stuff there. You know, people were not walking through this corridor. So I called the police to get permission to walk in there. Chris was going to go with me last weekend. And they said, we can't give you permission. That's state land. So I called our assessor, and it is not owned by the town. It's owned by the state. It's owned by DCR. And they have closed it off because there was some significant crime that was going on down there. There was bad stuff, you know, assaults and thefts and things like that. And they don't want people walking through there. It's just not safe. And there's no parking. So the individual who made the inquiry has been informed, and he thanked us for that. But I just think for the purpose of the minutes, and if you didn't get all that, Janet, I can put it in the minutes when you send me a draft. I just wanted to report that that was something that came to Open Space Committee. And there isn't, I don't think anything else we can do about it at this point.
How did they notify you?
Email.
Email, okay.
Email came.
Is this lot 12 on map 44A?
Holy cow. Wait a minute.
I'm sorry.
No, that's all right.
It's a big
40 foot.
parcel,
I looked it
about 5
up.
acres, 4.56 acres. It's near the water.
Yeah.
It is?
No,
No.
actually, actually, I don't think it is. If you look at, yeah, it is part of that.
Okay.
It's 174 feet at the road, you see that? I think that's the one. Yep.
Okay,
But let me point out then that there's no place to park.
yeah.
I've never driven down there myself, but it's, very small lots, very small, kind of congested, clustered homes and summer homes, I guess, camps we used to call them.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. All right. Next meeting. Can you believe it's already going into November soon? I think we could meet before Thanksgiving. Anybody okay with either the 5th or the 12th of November?
Cannot do the 5th. It's a select board meeting.
On a Thursday?
Yeah, because Tuesday's the election.
I'll be darned. Are we having an election this year? Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Signs all over town. Okay. All right. So what about the 12th?
What time?
6 p.m. Is that good for everybody who's present?
Yep.
Zooming again? A Zoom, I presume?
I'm afraid it'll have to be. I'm afraid it'll be too chilly for any other option.
It'd be nice to be in the town hall.
I'm not aware of that changing by November 12th.
No, there are no plans to open up town hall anytime soon that I'm aware of.
Darn it.
No, not at all.
Well, they're having such significant surges in other part of the world.
Yeah.
In fact, this is a
We've had-
personal, go ahead.
Well, just to say, we've had an uptick in town in the last week too, so.
France is going on, curfews and everything because of the numbers. Okay, so we're going to put this down for Thursday, the 12th at 6 p.m.
Okay.
And I guess we have a lot of follow-up work to do. Anything else? Any other business? Do I hear a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, 8:14. Let's all in favor. We're adjourned. Okay.
All right,
Okay, thank you. Take care.
Everybody.
thanks.